Hey guys, welcome back to V's Corner, to Chile, to US, and back again. Well, we left off on Ed. I had Alyssa now. I had moved to Lancaster. I was living there, had my own place. And Ed got out of jail and was on house arrest. He decided to escape, take his bracelet off, and come stay with me because he was in San Fernando and I was in Lancaster. So he always wanted to be with me and he found a way, even though he had to be on the run to do it. So, um, I had, we had been through a lot already, like, the drugs. I mean, I was introduced to meth by him. um, Meth is what really got to us. That's what really, like, messed us up. I started doing meth again after I had Alyssa because obviously I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to be skinny again, and it was so hard for me to lose weight. So I decided to start doing meth, and we would do it together. Big mistake. Um, the problem was that he would disappear on me for days at a time. I mean, he knew Palmdale well. I mean, he knew everybody. Like, he could go back and forth from the valley back to Palmdale and Lancaster, and he knew all kinds of people. Mostly because all his homeboys were in both the valley and in Palmdale, Lancaster. So, during this time, we're going through a lot. I remember the time that we were so hooked. We were so hooked on this stuff, and I would be waiting for him to come back with money or drugs or something so we could do together. While I would take care of my daughter at home. And oh, I remember sometimes I was doing odd jobs at this time, and like I would go. I remember this was actually before she was born, like right when I had moved there. Let me go back and tell you a little bit of how the whole thing happened with Alyssa too. Um, we, I was working. I don't even remember where. I was doing odd jobs back and forth because I was pregnant, and I needed money to get, to pay the rent, to pay bills. Plus, I was on welfare, so I was getting a lot of help that way too. And then like he started, like, since he was doing a lot of speed, him and the homies would sometimes show up at the house with stuff, and I would be like, what the hell is all this stuff? Oh, we're just holding it. And it's like, okay. It's kind of, or maybe I knew, I just didn't really care. I had so much other stuff going on. And then it was so hard for me to get my mom to let my other daughter come spend time with us because, she didn't like him. So then afterwards, it was just always a hassle for everything, for me to see my daughter, for him to be home, for me to take care of my daughter, for us to have money. It was always a hassle. So we would, like the only time we would actually get along was when we were doing drugs together. Well, actually, at this time I was not doing drugs because I was pregnant, I remember. And I would come home from work sometimes, and he would have a full house of homies. And I would look, and I had just gone to the grocery store. There's no food, and I'm like, okay, so what's going on? He'd be like, "We'll go in the room. We'll talk about it later." And I'm like, "Go to the room." And he'd be like, "Yeah, go to the room. I have the homies here." And I'm like, "Dude, it's." He'd be like, "Go to the room," and then if I didn't go to the room, you already know what was gonna happen. So I'd be all pissed off, go in the room, and then I'd have to be in there until his friends would leave because they wouldn't even let me do anything. I couldn't. It's like if I wanted water, I'd have to ask, and he would be so annoyed if I bothered him while he was at home. Finally, I mean, it was always a hassle, and then it's like, he would find a way to make me feel better afterwards because, like, I'd be like, well, you made me lock in my room, and he'd be like, well, come on, babe, I'm sorry, I love you, I just don't like them looking at you. And I felt like that was, at that point, it was like, oh, okay, so he just didn't want anybody looking at me, that's why. Yeah. Anyways, so then, the night I'm about to have my daughter, my second daughter, I'm about to have Alyssa, and He's tweaked the heck out. He's ironing. I'm totally nervous because I'm about to have another baby. And he's ironing all night, tripping on his music. I remember we had to be, I don't even remember how we got there, but I remember I had to be at the hospital like at 5 in the morning because I was being induced. And I got there, we did the whole thing, and he disappears on me. Like, he again takes off. I don't know where he is. I don't know where he went. It's like, then all of a sudden, it's like, here I am, with my legs all open and right there, waiting. And, yeah, he shows up. And then so does the whole family, the whole clan. And I'm over there open with my legs all open and everything. And everybody's coming in. And I'm like, oh my God, all these people are here. I understand. I mean, they're a family and that's how they do things. And it was just so like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I remember my mom took off because she didn't like them either. It was always this stress between our families. And he was like, well, if you want them here, then I'm going to leave. So then I'd have to call my mom just so she could come back because I wanted her there. The thing was that by the time she came back, it was too late. And then Ned was in there, and I remember I was pushing her out, and Ed all of a sudden faints. He saw the head come out, and he fainted. What they... All of a sudden, I see hot nurses and doctors over there helping him, and I'm like, over here, having a baby. Me? Yep. And then he kind of like got up again and everything, and then they had to give him... The fact was that he hadn't slept. He was on speed. He had been drinking, smoking weed. He had all in him. So it was like, I didn't have him there with me, really. The truth is, I don't remember what happened after that, but I had Alyssa, and Alyssa was born with a cyst on the top of her head. It was just a lot of extra skin that came on, but we were really scared because we didn't know what it was. Took her home. I went through all the medical stuff that I had to go to find out if it really was a tumor or what it was. They finally found out that it was just extra skin, and we had to end up operating. We took her to Children's Hospital. They took it out. It was her little scar. She used to say, my star. Anyways, so during this time, Ed is back and forth, high, drunk, on something. And then like I said, I'm now I want to lose weight, so I'm like, I'm gonna do this with you, and it kind of, in the beginning, it was pretty cool, like we would have fun, we'd do it all night. It was like, and it was easy to take care of the baby because I was always hot. I was always up, I was always like in a good mood and stuff. And then kept happening where like he would take off and then he would come back and then he would start tripping like, who's here? Take off your underwear. What? Take off your underwear. Huh? He would make me take off my underwear so he could smell it to see if I had sex with somebody else. He would trip out on... There was a shoe mark on the wall. Who's here? Who was tripping all the time? Fighting with me all the time. Like threatening if I was with somebody else, he would kill me type stuff. And then on top of that, it's like, guys, he had enemies, right? I mean, I remember this one time that these guys came to, like, kick his ass. I think it was, like, 4 guys in a car. And I can say one thing about him is that he was always beat the odds. Like, if there was 3 or 4 guys against him, he was going to beat them all up. It was just the way he is. I mean, he had fists of steel. He would always, find himself getting into trouble somehow. And I remember this one time where we were just like, these guys came at us and we were outside. I had the babies. He tells me, throw my knife. And I remember the day before that, he had thrown the knife at me. Stuck in the wall. So I knew it was behind me. So it was going to be on the wall somewhere. Grabbed the knife, ran out there, threw it at him so he could have something. He found a chain. Or the guy that he was fighting had a chain. Was trying to hit him with it. Ed grabbed it. Boom. Attacked the guy with his own chain and the knife that he had. I mean, these guys took off and everything. It was just like, it's like from one minute we were like attacking each other, the next night it was like we're Bonnie and Clyde. It's crazy. But it was all the drugs. I mean, like we had all this adrenaline sometimes, and believe me, I don't know how. But then also the fact that he was always high was the fact that I was always getting hit because he was always accusing me of cheating on him. Like, I mean, cheated on him like with another person at that moment. It was like I had just had a baby. It was just him, you know. But when somebody's on drugs, it's really hard to get them to not think what's in their head. You know what I mean? You can't make them not think about what they want to think. They think you're cheating on them. They're gonna make themselves believe that you're cheating on them. Well, um, at this point, it was like so confusing because we were in a toxic relationship. I mean, it was like to the point where we would buy meth, we would buy speed, and I would always grab some, separate it, and put it away because I always knew that when it came to the next day and we didn't have any more, by the time we were gonna need a little bump, it was always that deal with me, and he would yell at me. He would be mad at me all the time because like, why did you save this? And not worried, not thanking me for like having some now, but no. Being on drugs as a couple is toxic, believe me. Okay, so in one of these points, he gets locked up again. And again, like, I promise him to be faithful, and I wait for him again and again and again and again. All these times I waited for him. I think this time he did more time because Alyssa was like almost 2 when he got out, and then we decided to go move in together. But this time we needed a place, and Grandpa Sammy, his grandpa, took us in, and we went to go live with him in El Sereno. And it didn't take very long for for me to get pregnant with Ed. And this time he is doing so good. He's working, he's doing his thing, we're saving money, we buy a car. We're happy, I'm about to have another baby. When I have Ed, I have him in San Gabriel Valley. And he was really trying to be the good dad. He did. He was there with me. He was tripping. I don't even remember. I think he was just drunk this time. I don't think he was, because we were at Grandpa Sammy's and it was like harder to be on the drugs. But he always found a way to do something. Well, so I have Ed, or his son, and I remember right when I had him, he was terrified because I was so hungry because I think I went in the night before, and then the next day I had him. I was like in labor for 12 hours with him. And by the time, in the morning, I'm hungry, I want to eat, and he brings me tacos. He brings me all kinds of tacos with all kinds of chile and all kinds of stuff, and I was just grubbing because I was so hungry. And then all of a sudden my blood pressure went down, I can't feel anything, and boom, I'm out. And I guess I started losing a lot of blood. And the last thing when I looked at his face was his terrified of what was going on. Like, he didn't know what was going on. He was like scared. When I got out, I remember he was so like, oh my God, I thought I lost you. I didn't know what was going on. And I mean, he could be the best person in the world sometimes. And then we went back to living like a happy little family that we were. And everybody, like after you have a baby, you're supposed to wait 40 days. He wasn't trying to wait. Didn't last very long. I think I wasn't even it wasn't even a month old. And I was pregnant again. Me again. We had barely gone through the month, and we were like trying to figure everything out. We had just bought a car, I remember. And now I have to have an abortion because, I mean, it was hard for us to make that decision, but he wasn't even a month old. How was I going to have another baby? It's like, what the hell? My mom was, the first thing she said was, get an abortion. She goes, you just had a baby. You can't have another one. Which is true. And I wasn't trying to. So yes, I went and we got the money. We got it together, and then I went and got an abortion. He went with me. We talked about it. We were really open. We were really like, we both agreed on it, because we both, I mean, he was really against it, like at first, because it was his kid and all this, but then when we really like put two and two together and realized what we were doing, what the heck, hello, you know, we're adults now, we can't just keep having babies. He realized it was the best for both of us. After that, now we had got a car, you know, we're living it up. We're a normal family now, you know, he's working, he's doing his good things. And, you know, we're going to parties at his mom's house, and, you know, we're getting into our fights as usual, because it was always a fight, because he loved to drink so much. The problem was that I would go to these parties at his family's house, and then going home, I would have to go home with my kids plus him drunk. Imagine getting home, and it was always this big thing, because his mom would always get so mad at me because I wouldn't let him drink, and she's like, why don't you let him drink? And well, yeah, it kind of got harder all the time. And then it got to the point where I never wanted to go to family things, and not because I didn't want to be with his family, but just because I was always, I mean, they always gave him the favor, you know, like he was always like, oh, just let him drink, or just let him, yeah, but nobody had to just go deal with him at home, you know what I mean? And I mean, maybe they lived with him and they knew how he was, but it's one thing to deal with your kid than to deal with your boyfriend, you know what I mean? So yeah, that got getting complicated until, you know, one day he goes to work and he doesn't show up at home, and I'm calling and calling and calling, and he's not answering, and his mom doesn't know what's going on. Nobody knows where he's at. All night worrying, 2 babies. What do I do now? And what happens? They call me from LAPD to tell me that he has been arrested, and he crashed and totaled our brand new car. I don't think the car was even a month old. He totaled it. Yeah. So now he's in jail, and not only is he in jail for this, I mean, he's in so much trouble. Like right around this time too, like my sister and Danny, who is at that time was Ed's best friend, we asked them to be Alyssa's godparents at that time. So they were kind of in our lives at this time too, and Danny was being really, you know, generous with Ed, you know, helping him with stuff and letting him borrow his truck and stuff to go to work. And Ed always found a way to mess something up, and that was another thing. He ran over some old lady, and plus it wasn't even his truck he was in Danny's truck. It was this big thing. Then, like, all of this stuff started catching up on him, so he had all this stuff that he had to do time for now. So what am I supposed to do? Live with Grandpa Sammy forever? I couldn't, and plus, who's gonna take care of my kids? How's that gonna work? There was no other way but for me to go to live with my mom in Vegas. So here I go again, packed up my stuff, grabbed my kids, and we moved to Vegas. In Vegas, I got my crap together. I think he did 2 years. I'm almost sure he did 2 years at that time. So, you know, I get my crap together. I start working. I'm still doing drugs, but I'm in my own world. I get my own money. I have 3 jobs. I get my job. I get an apartment. I get a car. I mean, my life is getting. I'm actually becoming a good mom. I'm working. I'm doing my stuff. I'm responsible. And what happens? He comes back. Oh, but before he comes back, I'm going out with this other guy. Don't remember his name at this time. I was working at Walmart. He was some guy that I was going out with. I'm sorry if you are watching this video and I don't remember your name. I'm so sorry. But we ended up. It was. How can I explain it? It was just. I don't even know what it was. It was a relationship. He had a baby's mom and a baby, and I had my kids, and we just worked together, and somehow, I don't even know how, we got into this toxic relationship. So then when Ed gets out of jail and comes to Vegas to be with me, I guess, I don't know. Um it took him a minute to really like set himself there, because he didn't have homies there, he didn't have friends there. It was just me and the kids. And then when he had to stay with me, when he stayed with me, he had to watch the kids. So here I am, coming home from work, being like, okay, where's this guy at? And he's like tripping, like in the balcony doing something. And I'm like, the kids, why is it so quiet? Open the bedroom door. Cereal, boxes of cereal, a gallon of milk, bowls all over the floor, and the TV's on. Yeah, he just left them with the milk and the cereal. I don't know. It was always this. And then when I would tell him or say something to him, it was always a big fight. I was just tired. So I will always wonder who did this, but well, obviously he knew. I told him about like that I was with this guy and he was messing with me or whatever. I mean, I didn't tell him like the whole story, but I did tell him something because like, he had my key and I was so scared that he was gonna come and check on me or be with me. I don't know. I didn't know what he was gonna do with that key. So my mistake was to go with Ed in the car and go get the key, and I did. And he found out, but somebody threw pictures under the door, I remember, and he found out and he took off. He took off. He took off. He took my card. He stole money from me. He took my car. And he just left and he took off, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I don't even remember what happened to my car, how I got it back, but I think I did. So that's like getting to where I want to get to, I guess. But I'm going to leave it to there. And there's so much more of it that you need to know about. So if you guys are still hooked and you want to know what's going on, go ahead and press like and subscribe, please. Thanks.